Hey,
Hey,
Nick.
Nick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
sorry.
for example, you're talking about immigration, and I feel like I'm not a big fan of low-skill immigration. I think I can agree with you there. But one thing that I am kind of confused by, a lot of people don't really care about the culture, for example, right? A lot of people just don't. And so, for example, if someone were to make the $3 billion is a lot of money. When it's going to Israel, that's really stupid, right? When it's going to anyone. But when $3 billion is wasted after low skill immigrants use our healthcare services, wouldn't you say this might be a compelling argument for people more in the center or people who want good healthcare? Wouldn't you say like there's, for example, you're talking with like left wing arguments with uh, exploitation? That's a good argument to use with the left. So don't you think healthcare costs, for example, and other things like that could be compelling arguments for people in the center?
I think, maybe in light of like coronavirus, but I just think that, when it comes to like what we're trying to do, I'm not looking to just kind of like swindle the American people into like being against immigration. Like, well, it's for healthcare reasons. I mean, in order for us to really like make America great, we have to we have to have like sort of a cultural or an identity renaissance. And I think that it's not simply a matter of by hook or by crook shutting down immigration. Although I think that'd be worthwhile. I think that what really has to happen is that conservatives have to wake up, and anybody that appreciates America has to wake up and realize it's being transformed. So maybe that's like idealistic of me, and I don't disagree that like the epidemiology argument might appeal to leftists, but I also think that at this point it's become much more than that, because you could just as easily say that immigration benefits giant corporations and hurts workers, and that's totally true. But leftists are so ideologically committed to diversifying this country, in other words, just like transforming the country, that at that point I think that it's really going to be one side or the other on that. I don't know that you're going to get people that are going to say, well, I'm against immigration for this kind of like obscure or maybe like less high stakes reason. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like we could make just about any pitch to like a Bernie voter on immigration, and they wouldn't believe it because they think it's white nationalist, or it's racist, it's
Well, heck, even
anti-diversity.
Bernie was
Did
not a
wasn't
big fan
Bert?
of
Yeah,
low skill
Bernie was cool
immigration.
on immigration for a bit.
But yeah, I mean, I understand that. Yeah. What do you think? Like, for example, every other country, for example, my country, Korea, um, Mexico, all these countries tend to preserve the demographics besides like European countries. What do you think makes European countries different?
That's a good question, and I think that there's there's something to it that a lot of people talk about this with white people. I think Kevin McDonald wrote a book about this recently, about how white people don't have as strong of an in-group preference as other groups, which I think is basically true. I think that white people are probably decidedly less chauvinistic and less tribalistic as other groups. I think that's to their disadvantage. It could also be something about like the stage that we're at economically and in terms of our development, because the truth is that European civilization has been has had primacy in the world for 500 years. It's not to say that they're the only civilization or the only developed civilization now, but we're in a unique position where we have just exited, or maybe at the apex of like a half of a millennia of just like total hegemony over the planet as a race or as a civilization. And so maybe there's something unique to that in our stage in like development that the Koreas and China and like Japan doesn't have, because you could see that China is like militant and they're aggressive and they're nationalistic, and that's because it's like they got something to prove. I mean, they've been not colonized, but in a state of like subjugation to some extent by Western powers for a long time. So you could see where they're coming civilizationally, they're in a different place than we are. So maybe it's something about that we're in the autumn of our civilization.
Okay.